Our next session is entitled Fun, Engagement and Motivation in the ELT Classroom Despite the Teaching Situation. It will actually be presented by Mr. Harry Cullinane, who is the ELT Pedagogical Consultant for ELI Publishing that is based in Italy. Mr. Harry has been involved in scholastic publishing full-time for almost 20 years and has covered an array of roles within that period. So it should be very interesting to hear from Mr. Harry. So Mr. Harry, the floor is yours.
Hi everybody, Harry Cullinane here with ELI Publishing. I'm very pleased to be able to join you at the virtual conference today, and I am based in Milan in Italy, and I am with ELI Publishing, and I have chosen as my topic, my mini topic if you like today, fun with young learners and ESP of course, okay, just to make it as large as possible. But fun with young learners, one of the reasons why I chose the fun aspect in the title of the talk was because I recently did a project with some pupils based in a middle school here in Italy, okay, in Naples. And so, like I said, I'm based in Milan. I did this project. It was actually a reader's project with this school in Naples. In central Italy, and it was because it was at distance, okay, it was again over the PC while we were in lockdown in Italy. I thought it was very important to make the lessons as fun as possible, okay, and even though it was like a reading project, we were using graded readers, we as much as possible we did make it turn out to be fun lessons, okay. And one of the ways I noticed for it to be fun for everybody was I gave them the students there, they were 11, 12-year-old students, they were very curious about me. They wanted to know why I was in Italy, what, how many years, what brought me to Italy, and so on. So because they were so curious, and have an experience of dealing with pupils at that age, I was quite aware they'd be very curious and they want to know as much as me they wanted to know as much as me about me as possible. I prepared some stuff about myself and my life and my family and so on. So I was just going to replicate some of those things that I did with the pupils in Naples. I was going to replicate some of those things here today on my PowerPoint, okay? So I've got my PowerPoint. I'm going to skip along, and I'm also going to use the digital book. So let me see if I can get my PowerPoint going here, and we should be okay. So yeah, I mean, I just took out some of the things which were very relative to my life. So for example, where I'm based in Milan, and this is the famous cathedral in Milan, the Duomo, very beautiful building, and it's like the icon of Milan, or one of the many icons of Milan, but this is the most famous one, of course. And of course, the Milanese people are very proud about their cathedral, the Duomo, and it was the same for the students in Naples. They were very proud about their city, and the subject we were doing, it was about the reader was about a boy looking for a cat in Istanbul. So we got talking about cities, And the conversation was really good with these pupils. We were talking about the cities, populations of cities, cultures of cities, and so on. But again, sticking to the idea of family, I spoke a lot about my family, and it was almost like they got to know my children above all. So I spoke to them a lot about Emma, my daughter Nina, and of course my boy Charlie, my son Charlie. And the fact that he is the same age as some of the pupils that we were doing this project with, it really kind of hit home with the pupils, the students. Okay, and of course I also included our family pet Eloise, our cat. Okay, and so again, this was another aspect that which it really opened up things for them, because they spoke to me a lot about their pets. About their family, and of course, because it is family, I think we have to be very careful about how we approach the topic of family. Okay, and this is something I wanted to underline also with you today. I mean, you could this is my family here. Maybe you would describe that as a traditional family, a mother and a father with 3 children, and a traditional family and modern families, and the difference in families. Even the fact that here in Italy there are different approaches there. Okay, so it's something we have to be very careful about when we're talking about family. And again, this is what one of the things I wanted to underline to you today about doing this with young learners if they're preparing for the exam, or even if it's not an exam lesson. Okay, if it's primary. Okay, just kind of some of the things to approach and bear in mind when we are dealing with the topic of family. Okay, but again, it was a real speaking about my cat Eloise, that was a real kind of they really warmed to that, and they were bringing in pictures and sending pictures of their pets at home. Okay, but yeah, just moving on. This is like a typical. This is from our course, young learner course book Start, which has just come out this year. And one of the things I like about the approach we've taken here is the unit, the actual didactic unit, is very short. It's not too long. Okay, it's like a double page spread twice over. So you've got one double page here, and you've got a second double page here, and within those 4 pages, you've got all the lexical sets that you need at this particular level, let's say. So people who are kind of preparing, students who are preparing for the starter exam, if you like, they've got everything they need here across the 4 pages. And of course, if I show you the digital version, which the pupils have on their phone or on their PC, or the teacher in the classroom, it adds a lot of extra input that the students really relate well to. But again, just looking at the double page spread here, you can see the keywords here: mother, mom, father, dad, grandfather, grandpa, and we've put it into a context here. We've given them names so that the students can match the names to the pictures, and they can start to get a feel for the people here in the unit. Okay. And they'll see those characters as they go throughout the book when they're using this book. Okay, so it's not just a one-off. They'll come back, they'll see the same characters again, and they start to get a feel for the characters in the book. Okay, and here a day with my family, and there's lots of activities to go with this in the pupil book and in the activity book, and here you put it into kind of exam practice. Okay, and I can show you very quickly just what I mean by the digital version, which is here, and hopefully you can see this. This is a screencast. I'm recording on screencast, and also my colleague is not here to help me. She's the screencast expert, so hopefully I won't break anything while we're doing this, and that everything will be fine. But again, if I open up an activity here, you can say you won't be able to read all of this. I can see some of this is getting cut out, but it says read the text, look at the picture, match each name to the right person, and you've got the full kind of context here. Hi, I'm Ava. Today's Dad's birthday, and so Grandpa is here. Grandpa's name is Bill, and as they go through, they've got the the activities, they can match the names of the people here. So number 4, you know, they can choose the name and put in the correct name as they're going through the activity. Okay, let me see if I can somehow, no, I don't want to mess about too much with the screencast, because like I said, I'm afraid I'm going to do something which is not going to work out properly. So I'm just going to leave it as it is for the moment. Okay. But again, this is the digital version, and all of the activities that you can see here, you know, it makes it kind of, having the digital version alongside you in the classroom makes it so much easier to kind of interact with the students and the pupils. And you've got, for example, the listening, you know, here. And you can, you know, just drag and drop the answers to the activities here. Okay, and you, the teacher, you've got the keys to the activities. Okay, so at the stroke of a button, you can see everything that the student needs in the classroom while they're doing this activity. Okay, so let me just move on to the next page, because, you know, like I said, it was just 4 pages for each unit in this pupil's book. Okay, talking about family. And I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint for a second. Okay, and like I said, this is something that I approached very carefully with the pupils when I was doing this, when we're talking about family and introducing myself, just because, you know, families, there are so many different types of families now. Okay, there's the traditional family plus others. Okay, so it's just something to bear in mind. And another approach you can take with speaking about families, if you like, is, you know, putting it into like a fairy tale type scenario. Okay, and here we have, you know, this is like, well, more like primary, but again, it's young learners. We're in the sphere of young learners. Okay, here we have, like, you know, instead of the traditional family, we've got a fairy tale family, Goldilocks. Okay, and the bear family. So this is completely neutral. You know, the kids really are going to really warm to this. They're going to really like this. There's not, you know, the teacher has a bit more freedom about when dealing with the topic of family here. Okay, of course there are the parts with granddad, grandma, and so on, but you'll see as you go through this type of material that there's a lot more freedom for the teacher when she's talking about, or when the teacher is talking about family. Okay, and one thing I wanted to point out also was this, like, draw and complete and say. And, you know, I think, you know, if you photocopied this and give this to the students like 2 or 3 times, they would come back every single time with a different family member. And, you know, you'd be amazed the drawings that they're going to come back with using this. Sorry, the phone went there. Using this material. Okay, and if you photocopy it, like I said, and give it to them, you know, not just once but twice, they come back with a different drawing each time. Okay, and you know, they might put in their pets, if we're talking about pets, because we're looking at the bears here. Okay, it's the bear family. So, you know, it really stimulates their imagination when it comes to talking about families and so on. Okay, so just, you know, as I go through this particular unit here, and you can see there's like a lot of storytelling, which makes it really interesting too. Listen to the story. Again, it's in the digital book. You can do that. And one of the things I really like about it is that it finishes with like a CLIL activity. Okay, so you've got the family, young learner, syllabus, and yet the unit finishes out with like a CLIL activity. And in this particular instance, the pupils, they have to decide between a living animal or non-living. So they've got like a doll here, okay, and they just click down here for the you know, the toy, living, non-living. Is it a tortoise? They've got a little bird. There's like a little lizard, and so on. So blending in like a CLIL activity with what they have just done in the pupils book, it's really sweet. Okay, and I think, you know, they will really well, you know, they'll relate to it really well. And I think as a teacher, you would have a lot of fun doing that with the pupils in the classroom. Okay, so yeah. So when I'm saying fun, this is what I mean. Okay, just trying to bring a bit of real life, in this instance CLIL. But at the beginning, I mentioned how I approached the lesson with family. I spoke a lot about my family, my immediate family, about me, okay, because they're very curious. They want to know a lot about the teacher, especially, you know, if you're a subsidy teacher, and coming in to do special prep, if you like, okay. They really, really want to know a lot about you. So, you know, I spoke to them about, I come from Ireland. I gave them a lot of detail about my life in Ireland, my life in Milan, comparing Milan with Naples. The book we were using was about, like I said, a reader about this boy looking for a cat in Istanbul, and lots of ways you can, you know, manipulate and use that material to make it fun with your pupils in class, okay. And again, that was, I did everything over the PC, okay. I did everything over the PC, and we did it on a Friday morning, 2 hours each time, for a total of 6 hours, okay. And just, you know, the material I was using was just, you know, a reader, a graded reader. So here you've got like full units with interactive materials that you can play and use in the classroom, and they come from these books here, okay. So we've got Start by ELI Publishing, we've got Move by ELI Publishing, and the other one I thought was useful to look at today was, you know, the first level of our new course book called The Story Garden. And we saw one or two of the digital components, and there's also like an app that comes with these books, and it's extremely, we've been using the app for quite some time here in Italy, and the pupils really love it, okay. I said that I would speak also about ESP, okay, and what do I mean by ESP? I mean English for Special Purposes, okay. And you know, I can understand at times there is worry, concern from some teachers, because they've been asked to do like an ESP course, okay. So it might be like business, you know, the classic ESP course is business, and they have to go into a company and teach, you know, business people English, okay. And maybe they don't feel comfortable with that because they're not mother tongue teachers, okay. Or yeah, they're, you know, English is a second language, but they're qualified in teaching, and we have a lot of that here in Italy. There are lots and lots of teachers that are from Italy, born and bred in Italy, teaching English as a professionals, and you know, it's common occurrence to have second language teachers teaching English in the classroom and to professionals. So in some instances, you know, when I've been speaking to those teachers, they feel a little anxious when they have to when they have to deal with like an ESP course, and I tell them, well, you don't need to be, okay. You really don't need to be, because there is so much material out there. There's a plethora of material out there from various publishers available on websites across the web, including ourselves, ELI Publishing, and you know, the material is ready-made. You don't have to make tailor-made lessons, ad hoc lessons at all. There's like, you know, in this particular series here, this ESP series, I think we have 11 or 12 titles, okay. And so if we take one, for example, nursing. Now, like I said, I'm a mother tongue speaker. I come from Milan. I come from Ireland. I live in Milan. And if I was asked to produce and come up with material to English for nursing, for sure I would be in a lot of difficulty, okay. I would have a lot of a difficulty planning, putting together my material. But you know, very simply, if I take a book, and in this case English for Nursing or Flash on English for Nursing, you know, I've just made one copy here of a double page spread, and you can see there's, you know, literally everything you need in these ESP books that are out there readily available for you to make your lessons, well, let's say fun, because I know you don't say that ESP is fun, but you can make it fun. You know, if it's business, you can get business conversation material, and that's going to help you out in a myriad of situations in the company, or if you're dealing, you know, if it's a private student, whatever the situation might be, okay. Just so you know that there are lots and lots of materials, and that we from ELI Publishing also produce a lot of material to make your job easier and, let's say, more fun in an ESP situation. So, you know, if I go down through this particular double page spread here, careers in nursing, okay, you've got lots of kind of well, lexical sets that, you know, easily sit into this open close activity here, and you've got the words here, okay. And you know, this is the moment of vaccination, and that's the first word I see on the page. Okay, so vaccination, phases, respiratory disease, where patients sleep in hospitals, so shift work. So again, it's all language which is common to this particular role, professional role of nursing. Okay, and like I said, the series, the ESP series, which is there to help you. There are many booklets. Okay, very simple to use, immediately available, and there are, I think, maybe 10, 11, 12 of them in the series. You can go onto the website and you can find information about those on the website. Okay, I can tell you about the website now in a second. So yeah, I mean, this is what I wanted to say to you today. Okay, it's just the idea of fun in the young learner classroom. There's lots of ways you can go about that by preparing your own material, which I did with my group in Naples, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, I really did enjoy that. It was a 6-hour program. Okay, so clearly, 6 hours, you can do your own, you can make your own materials. If it's a longer course, probably you're going to need some help from the publishers, and I showed you some of the material that we have available to help you out. And the same with the ESP stuff here. Again, I would imagine with ESP, you don't want to be making up your own materials. You've got to go out there and get materials which are available from the publishers. So I've showed you what we have made available for you to make your life easier and a bit more fun in the ESP classroom. Okay. I said our website, where you can kind of get the list of our materials. It's elionline.com. Okay, and if you want to get in touch with us, Ellie, okay, you can contact us at international@elionline.com. My name is Harry Cullinane. These are our social media pages at Facebook, YouTube. I think we've got Instagram as well. I can't remember. The last thing to say is just thank you very, very much to the organizers for the invite today, and to all of you for attending and taking the time to see our presentation. Okay, so thank you, best wishes, feel free to get in touch. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Harry. That was a really interesting presentation, and I always love hearing you talk about the different programs that ELI actually has. So thank you so much, and I'm sure that a lot of people out there picked up quite very useful points from your session. David, I believe that you've picked up some questions for Harry from our audiences.
Yes, of course, Ida. Hi, Harry. Nice to meet you.
Hello there. Good morning.
Good morning. Well,
good evening.
Good morning. Hi.
Evening. Yeah, it's morning. I'm in Ireland at the moment, so
okay.
Yeah, it's morning here. It's 9:30 in the morning. So yes, good morning.
Okay, so you're starting your day, and we're going to be ending it soon as well. Okay, David,
okay.
Over to you.
Yeah, thanks anyway. Yeah. Okay, Harry. I have a few questions here from the how do you call it? Participant anyway from this side. So there's one here. It says, "Hi Harry, you focus much of your presentation on young learners. Is there a #1 rule or a set of rules you have, all right, okay, in place when teaching young learners?"
Yeah, good morning, David. Thanks. I wouldn't say there's a #1 rule as such, or that I have a set of rules. Certainly, if I'm teaching young learners and primary pupils, I would be looking to make or introduce as many fun activities as possible, and that's something I try to underline in my presentation. And again, just to make it as fun as possible. And the activities could range from breaks even throughout the lesson for games and songs, video, or even but mainly songs and games. And that's just to simply get up and moving around. Sometimes I've seen teachers, just to break up the lesson throughout the day or the week, even introducing dancing or just moving around the classroom. So, these are all some simple things that any teacher can introduce throughout the lesson and throughout the week's lesson. believe it or not, many years ago, when ELI was starting out as a publisher, we began by making language board games. And so again, it's kind of underlining the fact that we use a lot of fun activities in our materials. And we started out as a publisher and that was like 50, 60 years ago. ELI has been publishing materials. And one of the first things that we did was board games together with teen magazines. And we still publish to this day in the various languages that we saw in our presentation. We publish magazines for teenagers and board games to be used in the classroom. So these are something I would always look to introduce at some point during the week, during the lesson, and you're guaranteed lots of buy-in on the pupils' behalf, as they can be, they can be quite competitive. If it's a game, they generally want to win the game. If you divide them into groups, into teams, they really get, motivated because they want to win against their classmates. So, other simple tips, David. Other simple tips which I always find useful is at the beginning of the year. Let's say if these are new students, I would always try to learn the student's name as quickly as possible. And I would always ask them to write their names on a sheet of paper and place it in front of them on the desk. I think that really helps in building rapport and trust right from the start. I mentioned that we started out by publishing board games and teen magazines, and that's something going back to what Stephen, my colleague here in Ireland too, from News Bites. I'd like to back them up and say that it really is an extremely useful way, again, through the pleasure of reading. So teen magazines, but we also do lots of different types of supplementary materials such as songbooks, picture dictionaries, and these are very efficient ways for teaching young learners also. The picture dictionaries are very colorful. And so, instead of doing a list of words, you have a way of presenting new words with beautiful artwork. They come together with media files to help with pronunciation. And songs, they will always work with kids. Okay, so what I would like to point out, and I will finish, is that you don't need to be continuously making up or inventing new materials or new games or new methods for young learners. If you see that your students are working well with a set of activities, you can easily quite easily remain with those activities until such a time that you need to change. So again, there's not a number one rule or a set of rules. It's kind of just what I've highlighted now, and that's how I would approach it as such when dealing with young learners. Yeah, thanks.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good. Thanks. Another question is here. It says that what about teaching in the current era, or could I say COVID era anyway? There's anything that you can suggest for classrooms management and motivating students while learning online?
Yeah, I mean, this is quite a hot topic at the moment, and so I'm glad we're bringing this up. I mean, there's similarities between face-to-face and online teaching, but there's also significant and I suppose impactful differences between the two. And I guess the main thing is the lack of camaraderie that exists in face-to-face teaching can be missing with online teaching. So again, I think I mentioned this in my, in the previous question. It's important, if not vital, to kind of build an online community within the class. So it's really important that students feel connected to their teacher, knowing that they're kind of accessible, the teacher is accessible to the students. So I guess there are different ways we can look to try and achieve this. The first thing that would come to mind possibly is like breaking the class into groups, so that, through breakout rooms. And if we have large classes at the beginning of the year, it can seem quite autonomous to the individual student, behind the PC. So having them do activities in smaller groups gives them a sense of community, and they tend to notice the class size a lot less. It doesn't seem, they've got 25, 30 students in the class. If they're working in a small group, it's quite contained. They feel part of that group. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself there. And so one of the first things I would look to do is to build rapport with the students and get to know the students. Okay, so you could do get to know type activities. Okay, And, you know, these would include straightforward things like opening the room early. Okay, so if you're on the Zoom channel, maybe put in a simple question in the chat box, give students time to think about it and let them answer it. And, you know, this allows students to practice their speaking skills. And at the same time, you know, you can assess their spoken English. So it's just a way to warm up the class. And another thing that I would always make sure, and I mentioned this in our first question, is make sure they always have their names on display. And of course, they will in the Zoom, if they're in Zoom or on one of the call platforms, their name will be on display. But I think it's important that they remain, the camera is always turned on, and that way they're present in the lesson throughout the lesson. You know, I think this is important. You can also use icebreaker games. And there are many of these online, and I was looking at some just yesterday, believe it or not. I was looking on a website, it's brightfill.me, and there's different ways you can use these at the beginning of the lesson to help build community, these icebreaker type activities, and it gets everybody involved immediately, okay? And they're very easy to use, generic, nobody feels left out. And, you know, you get questions, things like, would you rather travel the world for a year on a shoestring budget, or would you like to stay in one country and live in luxury? So, you know, it's a question that everybody will reply to. And, you know, immediately you can get a feel for the person's character, the student's character through the questions that, you know, you're asking them online. So building rapport is important, getting to know the students as quickly as possible. Other considerations for online teaching, I would say, are lots of pair work and group work. Okay. Again, the teacher, bring your own personality. We need to present ourselves as real people. Okay. So we can tell the students a lot of things about ourselves, about our experiences. And that's something I touched on in our presentation when I was doing the Young Learners project with the kids in Naples. Again, keep the cameras on at all times. Responsibility in the classroom is paramount. So the teacher needs to enforce, you know, the rules of the class. So be on time. They have to participate. They have to listen to each other. No gossiping, no teasing. We want them to be positive. Homework, they have to do their homework, and, you know, we want them to speak English in the classroom. Okay, so you know, they have to bear by the rules, and that's important. And of course, encourage and praise our students, especially young learners. We need to do that as much as possible, especially online. Okay, so yeah, that's what I would say to that question. Thanks.
Okay, I think that's the only time that we have at the moment.
Okay.
So that we will take on other questions later on. I think via our FB Live, we'll get to the questions, and if there are things that needs to be answered, we'll definitely get back to you, Harry. So
yeah, brilliant.
Thank you so much again for this session, and I'm sure that everyone took a lot away. And thank you, David, for helping with picking up the questions.
Yeah, thanks, David.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.